All right, can everybody see? I'm also the tech for this presentation, so I have a lot going on, but hopefully it's not too distracting. All right. So I'm going to be doing social media and your chapter. So a lot of you have had a lot of questions about what it means.
My volume is gone.
The volume's gone?
Ron, is it on your side? Because I can hear Taylor at the same volume. You didn't put your computer on mute, did you?
Can everyone hear me? Am I still?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. Should I continue or?
Yeah, maybe keep going. And Ron, I'm going to try messaging you offline, but Taylor, why don't you keep going?
All right, so social media in your chapter. A lot of you have had so many questions about what it means to have a social media account for your chapter specifically outside of Tetra HQ, what that would look like, and sort of what kind of work you would have to put into that to bring it up to par with what we're looking for. So today's presentation, we're going to do a brief introduction to who I am. Some of you know me, but many of you don't. We're going to talk about why social media is important in general for a nonprofit as well as for your chapter. We'll take a look at what your chapter can look like online. We'll take a sneak peek at our brand guide, which is still in the works, but it'll guide us in our social media writing. I'll give you some content ideas. We'll do a brief exercise on posting and a Q&A. So, hi everyone. My name is Taylor Wagner. I'm the Communications Officer with the Disability Foundation. I have worked on some Tetra Society projects in the past, including NetClay and Tetra Nation. You may have seen some of my work. Currently, I am the comms lead for some of the other affiliated societies with the Disability Foundation. Jordan, our amazing facilitator today, is your Tetra comms lead, but I'm here to give you this presentation. So why is social media important? And it's really easy to sum this up as just saying there are people there. Ultimately, the Tetra Society is in a growth period, so that means that we're trying to reach more people, more clients, more volunteers, more donors. So we have to go to the places where the people are. And if we break that down into some Taylor math, so the population of Canada is about 37.59 million people. 1 in 5 people in Canada have some form of disability. So there are 25.3 million Canadians on social media, and Facebook actually accounts for 54.7% of all social media visits, which I don't know about you guys, but that is completely insane to me, but the numbers are there. And so that means that there is about maybe 5.06 million people with disabilities on social media. And that is way larger than our current reach. So we really want to be able to access those people and be able to give amazing assistive devices to as many people with disabilities as we can. So some goals with social media, because you don't want to go into this completely blindly. So with the Tetra Society, our goals with social media is 1, to grow our Tetra client base, expand our reach and spread the word about our mission to new people. And this is really the #1 thing. It's being on social media gets you in front of more people, whether they're interacting with your posts or liking your page or that sort of thing. The algorithms on Facebook make it so if you're putting out high quality content, it's going to be shown to more people. And it's not only the clients that are on Facebook, but also their family, their friends, their workplace, other organizations. There are so many different conduits within the social media sphere that can enable any sort of post that we put out or that you put out to get in front of them. So with that, you can also recruit community partners and volunteers. So yeah, clients aren't the only ones on social media. Volunteers, community partners, other organizations, and when I say community partners, that is kind of internal terminology, but what we mean by that is other nonprofit organizations that work with people with disabilities. It could mean other organizations, whether those are for-profit or nonprofit, pretty much any business or group of people that is online, we can access just by putting content out there. And that's a fantastic tool to have. Another thing is brand recognition and engagement. So the more posts and the more times that the Tetra Society brand is put in front of people means that they're going to see it over and over again, and that association is created in their mind. So when they think of assistive devices, they'll think Tetra Society, or when they see anything Tetra, then they'll think of our brand and assistive devices and what we do and what you guys do. So really, the more content that's out there, the more we're recognized and the more people are going to start engaging with you in person and online. And ultimately, all of that translates to boost donations. So an engaged online community can lead to more real-world interactions. It's been seen so many times. Sometimes we even get donors who will give us donations saying that they've seen the stuff that we're posting online. They love seeing the happy faces, the great work we do. And the only way they were able to know who we are is based on what they've seen online. So it's sometimes hard to see that direct connection, but it exists, and it's really valuable to take advantage of it. Another advantage of social media for nonprofits is that it's free. Anyone can make an account, anyone can make a page, and get content out there for no money at all. So with that, I'm sure you're a little bit confused. Why does my chapter need social media? Isn't Tetra HQ doing that? And yes, we are. Our social media accounts are very active. I'm sure you've seen we have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have Instagram, we have LinkedIn, and a few other things here and there. But Tetra HQ is national. So the Tetra Society of North America, we're in Vancouver, we're a hub, and yes, we're connected to the rest of Canada, but you know your community. And that brings me to the top 3 reasons why your chapter should have social media. So ultimately, you know your audience best, and you can make it personal. So each Tetra chapter is unique and serves a slightly different community, so what better way to form a connection? There's a reason that chapters are all across Canada. There's a reason why it's not just a hub in Vancouver. You know your community, you're able to access them better. You can develop deeper relationships with individuals that we can't necessarily do just because we don't have the proximity or the same connection as being in the same location as someone. And ultimately, if someone is going to join the Tetra Society and they're near you, they're going to want to develop that relationship with you rather than Tetra HQ. So by having your own social media accounts, you can develop that community yourself. You can also celebrate your local successes. So as much as we try our best to celebrate all the great things that you do, what better way to show off the things you have done for your specific community than by creating an online platform to do that? So you can share your great work online, take photos of assistive devices, highlight your volunteers, or tell an inspiring story from home. Show off what your chapter does for your community. Build a personal connection with clients, volunteers, donors, anyone who could have a positive impact on the Tetra Society. And that brings us, of course, to building your online community. You can create connections close to home that we may not necessarily be able to do. So whether you're liking another organization's post, sharing their event, working together in kind, take advantage of these partner audiences. So many times with the Tetra National social media, we see that if somebody shares our post, we're put in front of their audience. So anyone who likes a Tetra page, they're going to see your post, they're going to see what you're posting. However, if somebody shares it to their own network, there's this huge bubble of people that we wouldn't necessarily be able to reach without that. So by creating close-knit connections with organizations that are local to you, you can be able to deepen those relationships, create a connection that is personalized to your chapter, and also just take advantage of those around you. So that's all great and good, but there's a million social media platforms out there. So what platforms should your chapter have? Now here, Facebook is kind of our #1 platform. Most nonprofit organizations and other organizations have a presence on Facebook, whether it's a Facebook page or a Facebook group. I would recommend that you maybe make one for your chapter, or at least join one that is more catered to your location. So I know our regional coordinators have some fantastic regional pages. I know the Tetra Ontario page is really active, and there's a few others as well. So having some sort of presence on Facebook is highly recommended. And this is because it's relatively easy to use. There is a little bit of a barrier there, but I'm going to provide you guys with some resources after this presentation that can help give you a how-to use Facebook. There's also a ton of users. As I said earlier, 54% of people on social media are on Facebook. And that's great, and we can take advantage of that. So why not just create that presence? And like I said, most organizations do have a presence here. So why not also have a presence there? It really doesn't hurt as much as anything. Plus with Facebook, there's so many other options and so many cool things that you can do. And also just the audience and the demographic tends to fit what we're targeting the most, which is people who are middle-aged to older, some children, so parents, that kind of thing. They tend to be on Facebook. So that is why that is our #1 choice. Instagram is another great tool. So it's a great way to reach a younger age group. There is a lot of other people on there as well, but the demographic does tend to be a little bit younger than Facebook. It is an image-based platform, however, so if you do choose to use Instagram, which you're completely welcome to do, you'll need to make sure you have high-quality photos to make the best use of this platform. And then, like I said, you don't need to have all of these. Facebook is really the #1 choice, but I am going through a few. So Twitter is also a great tool for cross-promotion and short messages. The Tetra Society HQ, we don't currently have a Twitter account. We use the Disability Foundation Twitter in general. But if this is something that you want to create for your chapter, you are welcome to. It's not necessary, of course, but it can make a great addition to your online presence. And another great thing with Twitter is you can share other people's posts and retweet and that sort of thing. And we've found that the more you retweet another organization's posts, or even on Facebook if you share their posts, they tend to share yours as well. So it's kind of a give and take relationship for the most part. And that's fantastic to take advantage of. And then there's YouTube and LinkedIn. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that your chapter has a YouTube account or LinkedIn account unless this is something that you really want to pursue. Tetra HQ, we of course manage the accounts on these platforms. So if you do have a video or a post that you would like shared on there, you're welcome to send it our way and we can get it up for you. But of course, if you want to get into these platforms, I recommend reaching out to the communications team or your regional coordinators. So the Tetra brand guide, we have been working really hard to standardize what our brand looks like. It's not complete quite yet, but I'm happy to give you a sneak peek at what our Tetra brand guide looks like. I'm going to guide you through some of the language and the imagery, which will help you in developing your social media presence. So let's take a look at that. All right, so this is our Tetra brand guide. Like I said, it is not finalized as of yet, but it's a work in progress. Once it is finalized, we'll of course send it to your regional coordinators to distribute it your way. So to be seen. So contents, let's just kind of guide you through what a brand guide is. So a brand guide is a rule book containing specifications on everything that plays a role in the look and feel of a brand. Everything from typography to color to logos and imagery. It lets everyone know exactly how to present your brand to the world. So this is really useful if you're representing the Tetra Society online and on social media. It kind of gives you the rule book on what you can and can't do, and also provides you those tools to stay consistent with what we're doing at Tetra Society National, or Tetra HQ as I've been referring to it. I'm not going to go through all of this. I'm just going to kind of hit some main points. As you know, our mission is to build innovative solutions for people with physical disabilities to overcome environmental barriers, providing greater independence, quality of life, and inclusion. And of course, our vision is we envision a world where people with physical disabilities feel empowered and inspired to reimagine what is possible. And really, any time that you're making a post on social media, you're representing the Tetra Society. So really, everything should be tied back to this mission and this vision. If anything, if you haven't heard any of the things I'm saying, this is the most important thing. No matter what you do, please tie it back to the mission and vision, because ultimately that's what guides all the decisions we make at the Tetra Society. So personality. An interesting way to think of a brand is think of it as an entity, a human. So it has its own personality, and this will hopefully guide you how to recreate that personality and put yourself in the shoes of who the Tetra Society is. Because when you're representing this brand, this is ultimately what you're doing. If you are creating a social media account for your chapter, you may be positioned as yourself, but you are also a chapter coordinator or a regional coordinator or someone who is affiliated with the Tetra Society. So I would recommend embodying this personality or this brand with any communications that you do for the Tetra Society. So some quick things to kind of tell you who the Tetra Society is. We're solutions oriented. So always focusing on ways to solve problems and break down barriers for the community. We're professional, so consistently producing high quality, error-free content. And that also translates into social media posts. And I'll get into that a little bit later. But ultimately, the things that you're gonna put out, you want them to be clear, concise, professional, and error-free. Informative. So the Tetra Society is always there to inform the community about what it means to be a person with disabilities, or to what it means to make assistive devices for people with disabilities. The Tetra Society is ultimately the expert on this. So feel free to position yourself this way. However, talk to your regional coordinator if in doubt. We're positive, never negative, consistently optimistic about events, life, and all possibilities. I'm sure you may have seen this with the COVID-19 pandemic. Many of the communications that have gone out are always uplifting, trying to help, positive, never kind of going into the negatives of the situation. We're respectful, aware, understanding, and respectful of the vast spectrum of disability, along with the corresponding barriers that exist, always using appropriate terminology and never offending. So that one's really important as well. And inclusive, representing all ages, genders, ethnicities, and disabilities. And then, like I said, we are never negative, self-righteous, or corporate. So ultimately, this Tetra Society personality, we're relatable. We want to help, we're positive, and we're there for the community. And the core values. So the Disability Foundation and all affiliated societies have these 5 core values. And that guides all communications and all things that we do. So you're welcome to use these to guide any communications that you make. And so these include trust, environmental awareness, accountability, learning and growth, and teamwork. There's some more details here than you'll see, but I'm not going to go into too much detail here. And who we serve? Everyone. People with disabilities. We don't discriminate. And please keep that in mind if you're ever doing anything on social media. And language. So if you're ever writing a social media post, this is a great place to look for how to frame it. We use the word we. It creates this collaborative kind of environment where we're a collective of humans trying to help other humans. So always use we when referring to the Tetra Society, because you are a part of our team and you're here with us to help others. And with that community, we always use community, the disability community, our community, that kind of thing. So you're welcome to use that terminology as well. Accessibility, of course, especially with the Tetra Society, accessibility is important. That's what we do. We make accessibility more available to many people. And that, of course, leads to inclusion and solution. So these are some great words to use in your social media posts, and repeating inclusion, solution, community, all of that. I'm sure you've seen on our social media. We do this a lot, and we encourage you to do it as well. Another thing to note, so with the Tetra Society, we envision a world where people with physical disabilities feel empowered to redefine what's possible. If you are referring to people with disabilities, please use the terminology people with physical disabilities or people with disabilities when representing the Tetra Society brand. This is just a branding choice that we have made. So if you're ever going to post, please use this terminology. Imagery, so this is important too. I'm going to go into this a little bit later, but when you're using an image, make sure it's high quality, make sure it's clear. And we really like to use faces and people and happy. And so with the Tetra Society, you really want to show off the impact of what the assistive devices have made. So I encourage you to take a ton of pictures of what you're doing. Encourage volunteers to take pictures, encourage clients to take pictures, and try to show what this device has done for the person. What is the impact on their life? How has this changed how they're able to go about life? And that is a great story right in itself, and can create, so even without writing what the story is, a picture speaks 1,000 words. So create these pictures, these pieces of media, and those will have the most impact out of everything. So smiling faces, story-based, that kind of thing, very much encouraged. There's sort of some logo variations. We're still cleaning this up a little bit, but we'll let you know. And then that's pretty much what I've got for the brand guide. Like I said, this is still very much a work in progress, and once it's finalized, we'll definitely get it your way. Another thing that we're working to provide each of our chapters are templates, and that's a great way to make the branding consistent and easy to use for all of you. I'll give you a brief sneak peek of what that might look like. Just so you know, we do use Canva for our design software, so this is free to create your own account, and we're editing these templates to be accessible to anyone with a free account. So they won't use anything that will require the paid service. But for example, I'll give you the Facebook post template. There's some guidelines on what that would look like. It's got the logo already there in place, and you can just pop an image in there and have it ready to go. So for example, that is one. If it's a lighter image, this one has a bit of a gradient to help the logo pop a little bit more. Partner logos as well, if you want to add, if you're collaborating with another organization, some bars with the right colors, that sort of thing. This is, of course, a work in progress as well. Once we have it finalized, we'll definitely get it your way through the regional coordinators. All right, so that is our brand guide. Very much a sneak peek. But it's exciting, and I'm excited about it. I hope you're excited about it, and hopefully it'll make this a lot easier for you going forward. Okay, so we've got the context of why it's important, what you should be doing, how you should be framing your posts, but ultimately, what do you post? There are so many options. What do you do? Things to consider when posting. So before I get into it, here's a few guidelines. Consistency is important. Whether you're posting once a week or once a month, when building an audience, consistency is better than inactivity. So when you're choosing a social media platform, don't just go on everything and hope for the best. Really try to manage your time and think of what you're going to be able to dedicate to this platform, and what kind of effort are you willing to put in. It's okay if you're not ready to have a Facebook page for your chapter. It's okay not to have Twitter or Instagram. These are all just guidelines if this is something that you really wanted to do. I highly encourage you to do it, but I'd rather that we have high quality content going out with dedicated chapter coordinators or volunteers or whoever is going to be running this, rather than an inactive, forgotten about account. Also note, your content is for your audience, not you. I'm sure you have your own social media accounts, And when you're following a page, you're doing it because you want to see their content. You're not doing it because they're paying you. You're not doing it because there's some other incentive. Ultimately, you want to see their content. So when you're making that content, think of what your audience wants to see. Cater it to what they want to see on their feeds. If they're unfollowing you or muting you, none of your messages are getting across. They're not going to see it. They're not going to share it. They're not going to like it. And their audience won't see it. So really, really think about what you would want to see when liking this page. And I'll talk a little bit more about this in the next slide. And keep it professional. So you are representing the Tetra Society brand, the Tetra Society organization. So we are a professional organization, relatable and human, and not corporate, but professional. So use proper grammar, professional language, and clear images to create this positive image of your chapter and ultimately our brand. And also, just another point, keep politics as neutral as possible. When in doubt, contact your regional coordinator. They have kind of been briefed a little bit about what this means, but as an organization, we are generally neutral. Yes, advocating for people with disabilities, but that is not the sole purpose. We're here to offer assistive devices to help overcome barriers, and that is primary. So please remember this and keep this in mind. So rule of threes. This is something that we try to follow at Tetra Society HQ, and it guides what kind of content we put out and the balance of the different types of content. So this is another way to put yourself in your followers' shoes. What would you want to see if you're liking or following a page? So we're going to limit a third of this to self-promotion. So that's anything Tetra related, upcoming events, fundraising, volunteer recruitment, content that ultimately asks your audience to do something for you. And what I mean by that is you want them to sign up for a volunteer, sign up to be a volunteer. You want them to register for an event. You want them to donate to your cause. These are ultimately what you think of as ads or marketing. Yes, it's very important to put it out there, and we highly encourage you to post the things that Tetra HQ is putting and post your own things there, but try to keep it to only a third of your content. Nobody wants to follow something that's just going to constantly market to them and ask for money. Important, but not the primary reason to have social media. So the next third of the content is going to be cross-promotion. And when I say cross-promotion, I mean helping others out and making your page an information hub by sharing content from other organizations or people. So also with this, keep in mind what our overall brand, mission, and vision is. So everything that's going up on the pages should be representative of that. I wouldn't put something completely unrelated to the Tetra Society up there. But if you see, I encourage you to follow some other organizations, whether locally or nationally, that help people with disabilities, local organizations that you want to eventually partner with, or maybe you think would make some great in-kind donations. Local schools, local care homes, wherever you think would be the best place to get the Tetra Society word out there. Like their page and start sharing some of their content. As long as it's related to your audience, something that you think that the people following your page would want to see, I encourage you to cross-promote and to help them out, and also frame your page as an information hub. Make it so that you're putting all the information about what's going on in your community there, related to disability and assistive devices, of course. But this is a great way to get more followers because they're going to want to look to your page to know what's going on. And the last third is other content. So when I say other content, it's very broad, I know, but it's sort of more fun stuff. So articles from the web, uplifting photos, motivational quotes, infographics, still, of course, on brand, but entertaining, something fun. You want someone to like your post or have a laugh or something to positively associate your page and the Tetra Society with feeling good, uplifting. This is probably the bulk of why people will follow your page. They want to see the fun stuff. They want to join with the community and share a moment. So dividing the content into threes is a great way to kind of figure out what you want to post. This doesn't necessarily mean that you have to make 3 posts a week to hit all the things, and it doesn't have to be consistently 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, but it's a rule of thumb. It's a great guideline to get started, and a great way to start to sort of frame your page in a way and create an audience and a community that likes to see your content and wants to see more. So with this, always include an image or video. You're actually 10 times more likely to get an engagement on your post when it includes a visual element. So engagement, what does that mean? That seems like marketing speak, which it is. Engagement is when someone clicks your post, likes your post, shares your post, comments on your post, any sort of interaction that they have had with something that you have posted is an engagement. So why not increase your chances 10 times of getting someone to like your post and potentially share it or have it seen by other audiences just by including a visual element. And this can be a picture, this can be a video, this can be a GIF, whatever you want. Also when sharing an article, usually the link will pop up a preview. Just don't post anything that's only text. I highly recommend that you include something visual in every post just to increase your chances. So that's the content of the posts, but how do you write it? What's the 101? What's the how-to? I'm here to help you. So some tips before we get started. Write your posts to fit the platform. So each social media platform has its own character count, posting conventions, and audience. You don't post the same thing on Facebook that you would on Twitter. You probably couldn't, since Twitter has such a small word count compared to Facebook. And also, that's not really what your audience is looking for. Same with Instagram. Instagram is all about the photo, and anything that you're posting there is secondary. So your photo is the primary thing that you want people to look at. And also with Instagram, you can't share links. A link that you post in the content part of the post will not be a clickable link. That's just how Instagram works. So you have to frame and think about what you're trying to say and why you're saying it to that specific audience, and then cater your post to who that is or where you're posting it. Keep it casual, yet professional. So like I said before, the Tetra Society is a human-based brand. We're relatable, we're people, we're here to help, we're learning. So try to be welcoming, inclusive, and ultimately relatable. That's what makes people follow you. They want to get to know you. They want to get to know your brand. So make it easy to get to know you and want to learn more. Use emojis and hashtags strategically. So limit emojis to 1 or 2, most likely 1, and you don't even have to put them in if you don't want to. Too many emojis can look a little bit unprofessional, so try to limit them and use them strategically. Also, make sure you research what hashtags you're using. So many times different brands have used a hashtag and not researched what that hashtag is currently being used for. And sometimes that can associate your post with something completely different and unrelated to what your original intention was. So before using a hashtag on any platform, just do a quick search to see what people are using that hashtag for and what context it's being used for at that time. And also make sure your images and graphics are clear and of good quality. So avoid images that are too small, blurry, or hard to see. And I've repeated that a few times because it's important. And I know that we make that mistake all the time. We're a learning organization, but we're trying our best to improve that. And I really want everyone to improve that in all marketing aspects of the Tetra Society. So let's write a Facebook post based on this image. I'm going to give you a rough formula. This is not set in stone in any way. Sometimes you just want to put a line or 2. That's totally fine. But this is the formula we use for more of a marketing post. So this is that 1/3 of the content where you want your audience to do something. So the first part, you want to hook them in. So you can start with a question like, hey, do you want an assistive device? That is a terrible question, but something like that. Puns. I love to use puns in my posts. You've probably seen them a million times. I sometimes even just Google a pun related to whatever subject I'm talking about, and I'll post that in. So I like puns. I don't know about you guys, but I like them. And emotional appeals. You want to pretty much get someone to look at your post. And usually, especially with a Facebook post, the first line is all they're going to see. Usually it's like the first line, and then there's a see more. So once someone clicks that see more, that counts as an engagement. But if you don't hook them in, if your first part isn't something that they want to see, they're not going to click it, they're not going to engage with it. So try to hook them in with the first part. Second part, provide the details. So what's going on in this image? Who is there? What is happening? Where is it? When is it? Why is it happening? This is kind of the bulk of your post. And I know that's a lot of questions. This is going to be short and succinct, okay? So you really want to put all these questions into one sentence. You don't even have to include all of them if you don't want to, but it's a great guideline of sort of what the bulk of your post is going to be. And then the last part is a call to action. So what do you want them to do after reading this post? Do you want them to sign up to be a volunteer? Do you want them to learn more on the Tetra Society website? Do you want them to register for an event? This is your place where you say, learn more and provide the link, or email so-and-so at blah to get more information. This is what you want them to do with what you have posted. And of course, we're keeping it short, so your post should only be 1 to 3 sentences long. On Facebook, sometimes you can go a little bit longer than that, but really, we have short attention spans. I don't know about you, I have a short attention span. So when I'm looking at a post on Facebook, for the most part, something long is not something that I'm gonna read. So the shorter and more succinct and clear it is, the more likely it's gonna have an impact on whoever is reading it, and more likely they're gonna actually follow your call to action. Even if it's just clicking through to take a look, it's more likely to happen, so why not keep it short? So with that, let's actually take a stab at writing a post. So I'm going to, can you see both of these screens? And anyone is welcome to speak to, let me know. I can't see any of you at this point. Oop. All right, so anyone is welcome to speak to help me out. You're welcome to use the chat as well. I'm going to take a look at what all of you are doing. How do I do this? Where is the chat?
Taylor, it's Ruby. At this point, are you looking for suggestions?
Yes, I encourage suggestions. We're trying to write this together. So first step is trying to write the hook. So this is our image. I hope everyone can see it. I'm going to be honest, I don't know who the people in this image are. So we're going to kind of make it up. You're welcome to let me know who they are. But for now, we're going to refer this gentleman as Bob and this woman as Mary. So for step 2, for providing the details, you can refer to them as Bob and Mary. So first, our first step is to hook them in. And really, before we do any of this, we want to know, what is our goal? So with your post, are you trying to recruit more volunteers? Are you trying to just share an inspiring story? Are you trying to just show off a great assistive device and the impact that has created? This is a great time to kind of frame what you're looking for. I cannot see the chat.
Terry had a really good suggestion for the hook. Terry, if you don't mind, I'm just gonna say it out loud because I don't think Taylor can see the chat. She said,
say it out loud.
yeah, parenting is hard enough.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
That's a great hook. I love it. All right, so this is what's gonna bring them in. What are our details? What do we wanna share about this photo to bring them into our call to action? Actually, you know what? Let's skip to to step 3. So what do we want them to do with this post? Are we looking for volunteers? Are we looking to inspire? Are we looking for them to learn more and go to the Tetra Society website? What do you guys think our call to action should be for this photo? And please say it out loud. I can't see the chat.
Hi there. So one of the things about the adaptive cribs is that when a parent, when the child gets older, the parent is usually willing to actually pass along the adaptive crib to another expecting parent or needing parent. So that's one of the things where it doesn't always have to be an adaptive crib that's created every time. Sometimes it's possible just to have that crib passed along to another person, which is, it makes it such an easier process.
Okay, so I think we should frame this post around that. That is an amazing suggestion, Doug. Thank you. So what's the best way for them to get this crib? Our call to action should probably be to contact info@tetrasociety.org. That's our easiest go-to. Those go to Eric, the National Program Coordinator. So let's do that. If this is for your specific chapter, the contact information would probably be to your chapter coordinator or something along those lines. But for the sake of this exercise, our call to action is going to be emailing Eric. So email, or even, you don't even have to say Eric, info@tetrasociety.org to learn more. All right, so now let's fill in the details. So Doug, you had a great story to kind of frame this in a great way to show off what this image is showing off. So how do you guys think we should fill this in? Does anyone want to take a stab at doing this? And you're welcome to unmute your microphone and help me out here.
We've done this a few times. We usually put down it's recycling time at Tetra.
Okay.
So if you want this crib, you know.
Recycling time at Tetra. You would like this crib, need this crib?
Well, if you need an accessible crib.
Need an accessible crib.
And then it would say contact, and then you have.
Perfect. So this can be our post. So parenting is hard enough. Period. It's recycling time at Tetra. If you need an accessible crib, please email info@tetrasociety.org to learn more. Ta-da! We have the perfect caption for this image. And so that sort of thing too. This is one image, but we could frame it around any story that we want. And this could be a volunteer recruitment image. So we have a volunteer present here. We could talk about how great our volunteers are and how they're helping people with disabilities. And you could frame it around that and recruit more volunteers. You could put it around the impact of this story. So this woman is able to have an accessible crib to take care of her child. That's an impactful story. You could frame it around that and then maybe try to get more clients through that. There are so many possibilities for each image. So you pretty much just have to think about what your goal is, what you're trying to get them to do, and back up the image in a way that is professional, fun, and relatable, which I think this is a great example of.
Terry had posted another one in the chat that says, make parenthood more accessible for people with disabilities and volunteer with us.
Perfect. Amazing. You guys are getting it. Awesome. All right, so I'm going to move on. You guys seem to have this grasped quite well, and we'll have questions at the end if you have anything to add to this. Ta-da, questions.
Yes. We have one question from Andrew. Andrew, I'm not sure if he's still on the line because he does have to prep for a session he's going to be giving. But his question was around the style guide having guidelines for including image descriptions on any photos that are posted, how to add alt text and adding captions on videos.
That's a great idea. We don't have that currently in there, but because it's a work in progress, I can definitely add that in. That's a very great point too. We want all our posts to be as accessible as possible. And there's some tips and tricks to do that, which I can include in the brand guide. Thank you so much, Andrew. But things like making sure there's enough contrast in your image, not using discriminatory language. Anything you say should be clear and not using expressions. Well, you can use some expressions, but nothing that's too hard to understand. Try to be clear, inclusive, and make sure your images are clear as well. But that's a great point, Andrew. Thank you. Any other questions? And anyone is welcome to read them out if they're in the chat.
Well, if you're looking at the word inclusive, I'm on the Berlin Accessible Advisory Committee and the Berlin Inclusive Advisory Committee. And if you're looking at inclusive, we have to look at all aspects of disability.
Mm-hmm.
So large print, I mean, that's what we do at the City Hall.
Yes.
Alternate print, and I guess we're trying to look to expand in Quebec. So you have to look at French.
Yeah.
And just the one thing, I don't know, in Halton, we've gone through 3 times now in terms of defining somebody. So right now, originally it was when it came to Burlington, handicap parking.
Mm-hmm.
Then we changed to disabled parking. And now we're on accessible parking. And they spent like about $50,000-$60,000 just on that for the wording. I find that sometimes it really doesn't bother me too much, but on a whole, I don't know how we come across that having one specific thing. They've used challenged as well too, because you do have invisible disabilities as well too.
Yeah, and that's a great point. And ultimately, as an organization that works with people with disabilities, we want to be as inclusive as possible. So we're doing our best to improve our social media and improve our websites and try to empower others to do that as well. So these are fantastic points.
Have you gotten feedback, because I couldn't even make recommendations on it, but we have a diversified people at the Berlin Accessible Advisory Committee. One is actually does PDF files for printing going out, is contrast. Have you passed it by anybody? Like I couldn't make recommendations or anything on it because it's not something I have to deal with. But there are people out there and individuals that will look at it.
Yeah, we have some people on staff who do look over things briefly, but we're always welcome to feedback, and we're always happy to work with all of you to best improve all our communications. So, yeah.
Do you mind if I jump in here?
Sorry.
Sorry, do you mind if I jump in here? Ron, just great points. And I think one thing to remember, the brand's always evolving. Organizations are evolving. Language evolves. And that's why having a forum like this and being able to get input, Ron, like the things that you suggested, super, super helpful. And really important for us to be on the same page. And sometimes the evolution takes a little bit more time, but if we can be conscious and intentional and thoughtful in how we make those decisions, that would really help. And so the brand style guide, for example, that Taylor's done a great job creating, is a guideline. It's a start. We're starting where we are right now, and together we'll keep evolving. But thank you for that input. And do share any resources you have with our team.
I just wanted to mention that, Ron, you were saying about parking. I prefer just designated parking.
Yeah, but then any individual would go there.
Yeah, no, to me, that's more inclusive.
Yeah, I mean, we have talked for hours over this, so I really mean that was my main pet peeve when I started on the committee, and it's taken me 15 years to finally get it to where we are now. But that's another discussion.
I prefer people stay out of them if they're not supposed to be in them.
If it's a beautiful summer day, I'll park 100 feet away and push in. When I was in Saskatchewan, I think I'd be 10 months out of the year parking right outside the door.
Hey, and Nay, you had posted in the chat room a question. Did you want to ask Taylor?
Oh,
about
sure.
that?
Yeah, I just wondered if there was a style guide for the photos that we can use, and if there's a catalog of them, because I know I have my HR volunteer also does our social media posts, and she comes up with these really cool graphics, but I didn't know, do we have a catalog of graphics we can use from? Because my go-to is I'm like, well, I'll just go to Tetra's website and find a picture I like there. But is there a catalog? And then kind of some guidance on what we're allowed to use, what we should stay away from.
Yeah, so our brand guide is supposed to serve to help you choose which images you can and can't use. But also in terms of a catalog, we are definitely working on that. We have a lot of images at HQ, but we don't really have like a hub for everyone to share them. So that is something we're putting together along with those templates that I showed briefly. So with the logos all in the right formats and images and all of that, we're hoping to put it together and make it available to all the chapters.
Oh, that's great. So if we make something though that we think looks really cool, should we send it to you or?
Sure, or you can send it to your regional coordinator.
Okay.
Give you the yes or no on that.
Okay.
Or Jordan, our amazing facilitator here, is the comms lead for the Tetra Society. So if you ever want to ask him a question, he's available for the Tetra chapters as well.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
So I had a question.
Yes.
So just in regards to how often to post, I know you said consistency is kind of key. So right now I'm kind of like a newer chapter, and so I would say we're just starting to kind of get the wheels rolling a little bit. So I think if I was to do like social media posts, it wouldn't be like, it could be consistent but not frequent. But as the chapter grows, then could I kind of get, not out of, like, let's say I start out by doing maybe every 2 weeks, but as it starts to grow and I have more projects, more volunteers, can I kind of change that consistency? Could I make it every 3 days, for example, but there'd be that branch where it wouldn't be consistent? Do you think that would turn people away, bring people in, or should, even as you get more busy, still keep it that 2 weeks? So
that's actually an amazing question. As long as for a decent amount of time you're following a similar pattern, I encourage you to put it to every 2 weeks when you're starting out. If you have more projects at a certain time, you're welcome to post more frequently for that. Just maybe keep it like, as if you're going to post a lot, maybe post a lot for a couple weeks and then go back to your every 2 week kind of thing. Really, you don't want to overwhelm your followers with constant content, because then they'll probably unfollow or mute you just because their feed's going to be entirely filled with your content. However, if you have something you want to share and you have a lot more posts to go out, I highly encourage it. Mostly with the consistency, it's to avoid dead accounts, is what I call them, where there's nothing posted for a long period of time.
Okay, awesome, thanks.
And Nicola, if you have something like downtime, just take something from another Tetra Facebook page, like grab one from the Ontario board or from, out west or down east, or anything to fill in. So if you make yourself a weekly post, even though you may not have the content, you can certainly find it.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you.
One thing we did, Nicola, here in Lethbridge, because I made a Facebook page, but then I didn't have anything we were posting at all. So we merged our Facebook page with Edmonton, and we're not like Calgary, I think, has their own separate Facebook page, but we're kind of merged with, we just call it like the Alberta Tetra. And then but then I brought on a volunteer who was really eager to do an Instagram account, so we have our own individual Instagram account. So it's kind of like a balance where we get like that bigger exposure through Facebook, and then we have a more she wanted to connect to a lot more community partners and get people to follow us on Instagram, which is probably better on Instagram than it is on Facebook. So you could, strike a balance there.
Yeah, awesome. That's great advice. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we need to talk about it, Nicola, on the region and see maybe what we want to do.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Okay.
All right, so I'm just looking at the time. It's 11:56. So to leave room for our next presenter, I think I'm going to end things for now. But you're welcome to reach out to myself or Jordan or your regional coordinators if you have any questions, or comments, that sort of thing. All right. Thank you, everyone.
That was awesome, Taylor.
Sorry I wasn't here to introduce you, but it was a great presentation.
Bye, everyone.
Mr. Cripps.
Hello, Doug. How are you doing?
Not too bad, sir. How would you like to proceed?
So we'll just wait a couple of minutes until 12 o'clock, and then we will have you take it away.
Okay.
I'll briefly introduce you, and then we'll go from there.
FYI, so I'll be joined by my cohorts, Eric and Nicole Yamchuk.